Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing today? Good to see you all. We are joined by the lovely Remi Warren, who is a professional hunting guide and professional hunter. So you might, some of you guys are on PC have probably already heard his smooth voice in game, offering you, helps and tips and advice and stuff like that. So, Remi Warren, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. An absolute honor and a pleasure, mate. Pleasure. So, yeah, it was good times. We got about just under 600 people in chat already so far, and we're only a couple of minutes in. So, I think we're looking pretty good for a good stream here, mate. So.
Yes. Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited about everything that's going on right now as far as the game goes, and yeah, it's cool to be here.
Yeah.
Great to chat, and I know we're going to probably answer some questions that some people had, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure, man. And whereabouts in the world are you broadcasting from?
I'm broadcasting from a cabin that me and my brother built in the mountains of Montana. So,
Look at that, beautiful.
if I cut out something during this, I'm like on net that's coming from. It's about as good as dial-up, so I'm surprised.
Oh no, you're coming through loud and clear, I think so. No, it's good.
Yeah,
And,
it's a good morning. Nice weather out. So as soon as this ends, I think I'm going to hit the river and try to catch some fish or something.
oh, nice, man. Nice. That sounds like the life. That sounds pretty good to me. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so before we get started, too, ladies and gentlemen, as I was saying, Remi is a professional hunter. He's got some great channels and content as well. And mainly, would you say it's fair to say that you craft yourself off, like, the solo hunting and solo filming? That was kind of your niche to start with. And, I've had a crack at it myself. It's really not that easy at all, and you make it look super easy too. I don't know how you do it. So, it's just fitting, and I also think you're a good fit in the game because like you're all about helping other hunters and giving tips and advice and stuff like that. So, sort of the perfect man for the job, really. I think within the game. And I've listened to quite a few of your voice lines now, and they're all like informative in game and out of game too. So it's good so far. If you guys in chat put exclamation mark Remi, you guys will get a whole bunch of. Oh, there we go. So it's coming up. Well, everyone's worked it out already. So there we go. And before we start too, if you guys have not purchased the DLC yet, head to Remi's page. You'll get some nice discount details there. Discounts, and there's details on his page. Is what I'm trying to say. So, and we want to support him because this is how a good collaboration works. So, yeah. So let's start with the turkey hunting video. It's actually been released on a couple of your channels. It hasn't been released on ours yet. After the stream, it'll be going live on our YouTube and on Facebook. Like, how was that to film? Like, was it again, you've done this hundreds of times now, but how does filming turkeys compare to other animals and things?
Yeah, it's it's actually turkeys can be pretty difficult to film, especially when you're by yourself because they've got such great eyesight. So everything has to be real smooth movements. Actually early on in the turkey hunt, I tried a couple different spots that just didn't pan out. Like, it's just how hunting is. You go to the best spot where there's sign and other things of birds, and it takes a while to locate them. And then the turkey I ended up getting, you'll see in the video, we had to employ a different tactic, and it worked out really well. There's just so many. Turkey hunting is one of those things that seems very simple, and can be very simple, but can also be extremely difficult, extremely complicated. There's so many things to know about calling and their habits, and just so many different facets. But that's one thing that I think makes it interesting. And here in the U.S., like, I live in the western U.S., which we have elk and deer and bears, and so turkeys kind of get put on the back burner. But a lot of other places, they've got whitetails and they've got turkeys. So that's why they're one of the more highly hunted game animals in North America. And every region's got different types of turkeys. So there's like a lot of different things that can go into it. And so trying to film something that was educational about turkey hunting, but within the constraints of time and the amount of knowledge you can give someone in like one video. there's a lot of stuff that hit the cutting room floor.
Yeah, yeah,
Stuff
yeah.
that didn't make it. But I'm excited the way that it turned out. One of the things for me is I really love to just be able to teach and to share. I've been very fortunate. I guide full time as a hunting guide, and then with the filming and the other stuff, I mean, I get to be out hunting all the time. The most that I've hunted in 1 year was 323 days between guiding and hunting, and
Wow.
just doing. Now I'm married and don't go 323 days, but which is good because man, that just that was a lot of
Yeah,
being out in the field working and sleeping on the ground.
yeah,
But having that vast amount of experience, it's really awesome to be able to share that real life experience with people that maybe get to go out on the weekends. Maybe they're just getting into hunting. There's just so much to learn, and I've learned so much along the way. I just feel like it's awesome to be able to share that and kind of give other people that knowledge so they don't have to spend that amount of time making all those same mistakes that I did over that time. They can kind of get the basics and the good stuff and hopefully be more successful.
yeah. That's good. Yeah, like I think we were telling this before, but a little bit over 50% of our player base hunt in real life, and then there's about another. Hang on, quick maths. My maths is terrible. About 35% that are now interested in hunting because of our game. So, like, this is so good that you were in here because, like, a lot of people are getting their hunting information from a video game. So that's why we've kind of got a little bit of, a responsibility to make sure what we're putting in the game is ethical and stuff like that. And so for now, you'd be coming and giving advice too. Like, it's really going to be helping both digital and real world, hunting situations. I think so. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm really excited about. Is when you guys mentioned that, there's you guys have a great audience of people that are very interested, and that is the barrier to it is very hard to go from interest and hearing about it and then playing the game. You're actually, I've noticed that there's a lot of things in the game that will translate to real life, and then just to have somebody give you those tips on, okay, here's what I'm going to do in this scenario, here's what I'm going to do in that scenario. Because without like a good mentor, I think myself personally, I got started hunting growing up. My dad, got me into hunting, and just having that person just to show you is key. And if you don't have that, it's very difficult. But with YouTube and and like all these just different outlets, podcasts, like I'm able to share a lot of those tips where you may not necessarily need that mentor anymore, but you can get a lot of information digitally.
yeah, that's great. And I mean, I grew up shooting mainly and decided to start bow hunting in a country where bow hunting's illegal. So I'm fully aware of how hard it is to actually try and learn something without people next to you. It's just it's all the little tiny things that make such a big difference, and it's really hard to pick some of that stuff up. So I totally understand where you're coming from. And you mentioned about your dad, so this is going to bring us to the next point. Is like, who are some of your big role models in your life? Like, who are the people you look up to and try and sort of base yourself off, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, my dad and my grandpa are just two figures in my life that I really kind of always looked up to. And my grandpa actually was a guide and outfitter in the same areas that it's one of the same areas that I guide in Montana. And like I would spend all summer with him. He would take me out. He was really good about just like letting us go and be wild children in the mountains. He would drive to a spot. I think I was probably like maybe 12 years old or something. You just like drive up the mountain, drop us off, and say, "Okay, find your way back to where we started." Like, okay, and that's the kind of stuff we loved to do growing up, and just like learning some hunting from them. And then over the years, like they got me started, but then it was really cool to like. There's certain things that I kind of had no mentors on, like you mentioned, bow hunting. That was something that I just saw and thought, man, bow hunting just looks so awesome. And it was a trial and error for me for a very long time. And then I learned how to bow hunt and then taught my dad how to bow hunt. So that's been really something that I thought's been fun and pretty cool. But I definitely would say that they were probably the two most influential people as far as hunting and just like my passion for it.
Yeah, no, I got you. So we're sorry, we're just getting a few questions about the audio's gone a bit weird apparently. But guys, can you actually hear him fine, or does it just sound weird? Because it's important you guys can hear him, but I'm not sure. We did some testing earlier and everything seemed fine. Some people saw the testing we did actually, but so that's weird that something's changed. It might be something to do with the connection too, because we're actually doing this through Skype. Oh, there we go. Everyone's saying it's fine. That's right. Don't worry. It's fine. Just wanted to make sure before we continued on, we weren't wasting our time, basically. So that's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to know too, because like I said, this internet, like it, depending on which way the wind's blowing, depends on how good the signal is. So I think we got a good north wind right now, so it should be coming in fine, but we'll see.
Yeah, okay, cool. I gotcha. Apparently my mic is bad. Okay, well that one should be easier to fix than Remi's. Anyway, let me before I fiddle with my microphone settings. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you have just joined, this is Remi Warren. Put exclamation mark Remi in the chats there, and you'll get all the information you need to know about this guy. Go and show him lots of support. He's an absolute champion, and very lucky to have him involved with us here at Call the Wild. So, what is your first hunting memory, or like your first kill, Remi? That I remember mine. I think I was 7 and I shot a rabbit or something, But like, it's something that for me I hold quite close in my head the whole time, and I don't think anyone forgets it. So, like, what is yours?
Yeah, I mean, probably similar age. I don't know how old I was, 6 or probably 7, something like that. My dad and we were out hunting pheasants, and I remember we got out of the truck and we started working toward this field, and this pheasant came out and like stopped, and my dad got the gun ready for me, and I had the gun and aimed and shot the pheasant, and I remember that very vividly. It was like, I felt like I'd been on since I was. I mean, my dad used to carry me in a backpack before I could, even walk on hunts. And so it was something that I always saw him doing and was just could not wait to do myself. And so that was like the first moment that I actually got to, shoot something myself. And I think I was pretty much like, there's also a range of emotions when your first time hunting. You're like, okay, it's very serious because you just shot this animal, but it's also like this excitement too. And then I remember like going home and just being so proud of this pheasant. I saved the feathers, and then like I cooked it, and I was like, this is my pheasant. I'm going to eat this and that was like a really good memory for me as well. Like how excited I was just to like eat that pheasant, and it was like dinner that day I got myself. And that was pretty, I felt, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it was funny. It was the same. You sort of talk about that, a range of emotions. I was super excited, and then I realized I killed something, and I started crying. And then, Dad was like, it's fine. It's, you've done the farmer, huge justice getting rid of this rabbit because, as you know, they're a plague in New Zealand. And then the same thing, we took it home, and I think Mum put it in a pie, and it was delicious, and it just kind of all made sense after that moment to me. So it was, it's very cool. So I have a question for you, actually. Is if you had to pick one weapon to use for the rest of your life, what do you think it would be?
It would definitely be my bow, I think. I do like to hunt with all kinds of bows, like traditional bow, recurves, long bows. But my compound bow, I really enjoy bow hunting. There's just that aspect of having to get really close, having to pay attention to everything. And I really enjoy shooting a bow as well. So I think I'd have to go with my bow.
Yeah, nice. That's good. And I've seen you're pretty proficient with it. Some of the shots I've seen in your videos are pretty impressive. So, have you got any shots with your bow that stand out, like as a good, sort of good memory, like because I don't know how many people in chat bow hunt, but it's definitely not easy, and there's some moments you must be pretty proud about, like making the shot and all that.
Yeah, I think there are two bow shots that really stand out, are kind of similar in the way that there was. I was doing the Meat Eaters show, and I was bow hunting for coos deer in Mexico a while back, and it was like the last day we could hunt, and there was this little buck came out behind this tree, and it was just one of those, like, there is so much in the way. It looks like you'll never be able to make it that spot. and I had multiple pin sight, and I just ranged like where the tree was and figured out I could see the where the flight of my arrow would be based on the way my pins are, and just lined everything up, just getting in that right angle, lining everything up, and made a perfect shot. And I did the same thing a couple years, maybe a couple years back on a mouflon hunt. I was with a friend, and he's like, "There's no way you can get an arrow through there." And I was like, "This is something that I practice a lot, though, so I know the trajectory of my arrow, and like when you do it enough, you can almost visually see that flight path." And so lining it up where there are no obstructions, and made a good shot. And so those kind of shots are like the ones where you practice in a certain way for a certain type of scenario, and then you encounter that scenario in the field and make a really good shot, and like that kind of stands out.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. I actually saw your Instagram the other day. It was really well done with, which pin would you use for the shots? And I thought, yeah, I thought it was great. Yeah, it was really, really good
Yeah,
actually.
you see something and you think, well, oh, it's a clear shot because you're just going off your line of sight, and a lot of times your brain, for people that aren't like familiar with what I'm talking about, is like if you're shooting a bow, or even a rifle, the arrow is falling, so your line of sight to see something, it might look clear, but you really have to be careful of the obstructions above your line of sight, because that's where the flight path of your bullet or your arrow is going. And so to kind of like be able to understand that and then apply it into the field
Yeah.
is huge as far as success goes.
Yeah, I actually shot a fence on one of the number 8 fences in New Zealand the other day, trying to shoot a goat. Same thing, man. I thought I was like, because the fence is quite close to me actually, and I thought I had like enough gap between, exactly what you're talking about, and I couldn't hit the wire any more perfect, and I just was, hand and face, and the goat took off. But it's a steep learning curve, man. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, that's so cool. Now, one I have been dying to talk to you about too is your infamous bear attack, mate. That must have been absolutely horrific. Like, can you walk us through kind of how it happened and where it was set? And like, I just can't even imagine that happening in real life. It just would be crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So it was actually we were hunting on a Fognac Island, and we are hunting Roosevelt elk. This is an island off the coast of Kodiak, off the coast of Alaska, and it's just really known for some of the largest bears in the world, Kodiak brown bears, and just like that, the whole place is super remote, lots of bears, really bad weather. It's kind of got the trifecta of just big adventure. And my friend Steve Ranello was with me, and we were actually filming an episode for Meat Eater, which is on Netflix. And so we're filming, and Steve, I've already shot one of these elk, so I want to make sure Steve got one because this was his first hunt there, and I've actually been back quite a few times. So Steve got an elk, and they're just such big animals that you have to carry all the meat, long ways. So the first night after we got it, we loaded up our packs, we packed out, then we went back the next day to finish out carrying out the rest of the elk. When we got to the tree, we looked around for bear sign, didn't really see anything, but there was some like bear sign, but it looked like it might have been older because it looked like maybe somebody had stepped in it. So we're like a half a day's walk through the mountains, like pretty rigorous trek just to get back to that spot. So there was, I think, 5 of us all together, and we decided we're like, before we go back, let's sit down and have lunch real quick. And so we're kind of like in this semicircle, having lunch, eating sandwiches, and like making some coffee. And I'd actually had, like this bear deterrent, like because I was bow hunting, so I had my bow, and then I had a pistol and some bear spray. And I took my pack off to go grab. We were like filling up a water pot for coffee, and so I was collecting water from everyone. So if you want a coffee, just pour some water from your jug into the pot. And so I moved away from my pack, and then somebody sat where my pack was, and my pistol happened to be on my pack. Normally I would switch it between my pack and my holster on my body, but this particular time I didn't. And so we're sitting there, we're all laughing, having a good time, and then someone from behind's like, bear. And I look up and there's just this giant brown bear, walking eyes, charging in. And I mean, that moment seemed like slow motion. Um, at this point, it's like, where do you go? What do you do? People are scattering. That bear is coming in. And I remember, like, I was going for my pistol, which was in front of me, and now the bear is like right on top of me. And I did like a football juke move, and somehow the bear like is here, and I thought for sure I'm getting hammered, and you hear the bear like going crazy. And then the bear, I actually thought my juke move confused the bear and caused it to turn around. Later, I find out the guy next to me, Giannis, hit the bear in the face with his trekking pole, which probably saved someone's life.
Wow.
It might have probably saved my life. And saved his own life. But when we turned around, I saw the bear going down the mountain with someone, and we're like, now it's like mass confusion. We're trying to figure out who's missing. Garrett, one of the other guys, then popped up, and somehow, like when the bear, like it came in to try to kill us, but I think it just thought maybe there was one thing there. And then when we all scattered and made noise, it confused them, and you didn't really know who to attack. So he was just like swiping and charging at literally everything. Somehow, I think Garrett ended up back to back, like riding on the back of the bear, like back to back with the bear. So I think when he wheeled around, Garrett must have been going one way and then kind of like hit him onto his back. And then, so that's what I saw, the bear and legs in the air, him on the bear's back somehow. And then, so we circled back up. By this point, we got a pistols and bear spray. And the bear kept circling a super thick brush. So you couldn't see, but you could hear the bear circling around. And then you hear all these sticks breaking as he charged in again, but like never to a point where we could see him. And then, making noise. Finally, it seemed like he calmed down or went away. We got the meat down, kind of made a formation, and went to some place where we could see, at least in the open, and then repack our packs and plan for the trip back home.
My God, man, that is absolutely terrifying. There's not too many
Yeah.
people that say they've ridden a wild brown bear though. Like that's kind of pretty unique
No,
too.
no. After that happened, we were sending these memes from, what was it, Anchorman? Like, I'm riding a fuzzy tractor. Remember that?
Man, I mean, it's a situation you can laugh about now, but that could have been so bad, so
Oh
bad.
yeah. In that moment, it was like you're pretty sure you were gonna die.
Yeah.
Um, it's a 1,000 pound animal that is literally running as fast as a racehorse. It's incredible how fast they are, and it just happens so quick. Like, even if you have something to protect yourself, a pistol or bear spray, to get it out in time is nearly impossible. I don't think people realize how fast it happens and how fast they are. I actually heard a story. Somebody got attacked recently, shed antler hunting in either Montana or Wyoming, and they had bear deterrent on them, and the same thing. Like, they couldn't even get it fast enough. Just, it happens so quick, and you feel like you're prepared, but realistically, it's the times that you aren't expecting it that it probably is going to happen, and man, it just happens so fast.
Yeah, that's crazy. Um, I'm getting. Apparently, I'm echoing and you're not. So let me just try something. Can you still hear me now? Oh, hang on. Can you still hear me now, Remy?
Yeah,
Yeah, you can hear me now. I wonder if I'm. I don't know if they can hear me or not. Apparently, it's pretty annoying. It's better? Much better. Okay, fixed it. There we go.
perfect.
There we go. It was just two audio loops going somehow on here, so I just nuked one of them. Everyone's like, "Yay!" But anyway, yeah. So that's yeah. I was going to say too that like what sort of distance was the bear when you first saw him?
Um, I don't know, probably like 60 meters, maybe
Yeah,
something like
coming at you full speed too. That's just terrifying. Yeah. I just can't imagine the panic and you like you say you've got like a couple of seconds to make the right call and that might not even be good enough really. So
that. I mean, from the time I saw the bear, I mean, literally, my pack was maybe 3 feet away, and the bear moved however far he was to there before I could go that 3 feet. I mean, that's just how fast. And it was like you don't have time to think. You just think I just went to go grab that, and the bear's already right here.
Yeah.
And that's no time.
Yeah.
Move out of the way of the teeth. And yeah, it's crazy.
Is that common? Like, do you think he knew there were so many of you there? Like, I wouldn't have thought a bear would be interested in it with such a big group, I guess. But
No, I think that it either there's I got a couple different theories, but it could have like smelt the meat and thought, okay, that's my meat, or it just thought, hey, there's something here, I'm going to attack it. And I don't think that it really thought that there was a lot of people. I think, well, I mean, I don't know what it thought we were, or whatever, but I think whatever it thought it was attacking thought it was one entity, and it's kind of like, you know, I think we all survived fairly unscathed because of a defense tactic that many animals use. It's like a covey of quail; they flush all at once because it distracts a predator from being able to hone in on one particular thing. Or you think about like zebra and like their stripes and their group. As a lion runs in, they all scatter and run different directions, and it confuses the predator.
yeah,
When they can't hone in on one particular thing, you're kind of just like flock shooting. They're so distracted by the commotion that's going on, they choose to try to go after everything. And by going after everything, they can't catch anything. And that, luckily, is a good defense tactic. Like it's a natural defense tactic against their predatory instincts of this scatter effect. And it happened. It was not planned, but it happened.
Man, that's crazy.
But,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And then a trusty walking stick to the head too. Might have disorientated him a little bit more, which is lucky. So,
Yeah, I think with all the motion and then just like getting, you're like, whoa, what is this? And it's going to fight back? Okay, I don't know. Well, I'll just go for this other one. And then and then I think, and then at some point, like the bear got as confused as we were, and which was good. If it was just one person there or two people, for sure would have not had the same outcome. It would have been a lot more disastrous.
yeah, that's crazy, man. It's crazy. But anyway, if you guys have just joined, this is Remi Warren. I see you guys all over it like a bad smell, but put exclamation mark Remi in the chat and you'll get all this guy's awesome social media links. Go see his YouTubes, Solo Hunter and your own Remi Warren one as well, and follow him on Instagram. I think Instagram is probably your most active, right? Would you say, Remi? That's where all the juicy stuff happens.
Yep. Yeah, I do. Like a lot of my trips and stuff, I recount through the Instagram stories and posts and other things, as well as like when I'm home doing cooking and wild game cooking and everything like that. So Instagram is pretty much where I do the majority of everything. And then Solo Hunter, you can find on YouTube, or if you got Amazon Prime, we're on Amazon as well.
Nice. Yeah.
For most people outside of the U.S., it'd be YouTube.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Sweet. So we've got a few community questions. So some of you guys would have put questions in our social media to ask Remi. So I'll just start going through some of these, and we'll start off on Blair Munro asks, Remi, what is your favourite animal to hunt with a bow, and what's the smartest animal you've ever hunted? So I guess that's kind of two questions, but it's two good ones anyway.
I think with a bow, probably mule deer is one of my favorites, and it's very challenging. And I think that I would maybe, kind of lump that into maybe that's why I like it the most, because they can be very smart. I think if you're like unfamiliar with mule deer and you go into mule deer country, you might think, oh, these are really dumb because they don't necessarily run away like a whitetail, but the mature bucks, the big bucks, and in certain areas like high country mule deer, they're in the tops of the mountains, rough terrain, and they put themselves in places that's very hard to sneak on because they're constantly being hunted by large predators, bears, mountain lions, wolves. Like they're very keyed in, and so they really put themselves in places that makes it hard to get within bow range. They have really big ears, so they can hear really well. They can smell really well. They have great eyesight, and a combination of that makes it very difficult. Especially like the deer, like older age class deer, mature deer, they're very difficult to sneak on, get close to. But that challenge makes it like extremely appealing as well, where you're like, okay, it's difficult, but it's also very fun, very cool terrain. And they're in a lot of places out west, like Montana, Nevada, Idaho, like a lot of good Colorado, just like a lot of really good, cool hunting places for them. So it's a little bit of the location has the appeal as well. But I'd have to go with the mule deer.
Yeah, sweet. And so would that be the smartest animal you've hunted as well?
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about an animal that's smart, it's just it. Yeah, I would think so because the way that they, like a lot of animals have a certain weakness. So, elk are you can call them in, and they don't really mind noise in some ways. Not that they aren't very hard to get. Whitetails, they live in thicker terrain and kind of like run away at the first sound of something. Very flighty, but they're patternable. Mule deer really aren't patternable. They kind of take different routes all the time. They, bed in positions where they've got the wind at their back and they've got great hearing and they've got great eyesight. So because of the way that like mule deer don't really have that particular weakness, I would say they aren't patternable. They aren't really callable. You have to stalk in to get a shot or like to get close. And so because of that, like even coming to a water source, they aren't predictable at that. The water at night, the water at different places, like they just are not super predictable. And because of that, it makes them, like I would say they're smart in that way. Like they kind of keep mixing it up and it makes it difficult to kind of
So I,
get close.
yeah, so I guess the first thing is to locate them and then come up with a plan rather than the other way around, I suppose. Um, yeah, no, that's pretty cool. So Ricky, Thorigus, and I'm terrible with names. Sorry, Ricky. He says, "What was your most successful hunt? Like, what is your? I guess, yeah. What is your most successful hunt?"
Um, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, what makes one hunt like more successful than another. For me, I think what makes something like if I go back and I think, what was a hunt where it was difficult and like I had great experience, whether I got something or not. But I think that those trips where you almost like the odds are stacked against you. Um, I think that those are the ones that would stand out as having like a different level of success. And so I actually got a Dall sheep in Alaska with my bow in an area that very few people have got a sheep, and it happened to be like a 13-year-old ram, which is when you're talking about rams, like a sheep that age, it's one of the older rams ever shot with a bow. So it was like a hard area, and it was like a very old, mature ram that probably wasn't even you're like maybe who knows how much longer it would have lived in the wild, but it's evaded predators for that long in an area that's very difficult terrain. Like everything was stacked against me, and so to come out and like be successful with the bow on that trip, I would say that was like something that I think was probably the most successful trip I've had.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. It's I think yeah, I agree there. It's like the effort versus reward thing. Like, when you put so much effort in and the reward's always that much better, it's awesome. But that sounds cool. So Jeff Sigworth is asking, what is your preferred long-range bullet rifle combo, and do you reload for better with BC? I'm not sure what BC stands for there actually, but
Yeah, he's talking about like ballistic coefficiency.
okay, there we go.
And mostly like the ballistic coefficiency happens to do with like the shape or the conical of the bullet. So like how little drag it has. So, like drag and gravity and everything's pulling that bullet down. But, with a certain shape, you can shoot further at like less drop per that distance of yardage. My favorite rifle caliber would be a 300 short mag, 300 or 300 WSM. The reason that is it's like very versatile. I can hunt everything from a whitetail, or like I've even taken it to Africa and hunted small like steenbuck or small animals. But you can then go up to like moose size with it. So it's super versatile. You can shoot long range with it. I just think it's a really great caliber. And you go, well, why not just a 300 Win Mag? the cool thing about the short mag is it's like on that small action frame. So a lot of the stuff I do is in the mountains. So you're making a shorter action, shorter bolt. It's lighter and it's a shorter bolt throw. So if I'm in position, I hunt a lot by myself. I generally like to hunt with a muzzle brake, or if I'm somewhere I can use a suppressed rifle, not necessarily for the sound, but just for that muzzle jump, so I can keep an eye on the target. And if I need to reload, like I don't really have to take my head off the rifle. I can just reload. It's a shorter bolt throw, so I don't actually, miss loading. And I prefer that combo cartridge caliber. As far as bullet, and I go through in different stages of life. I've tried different bullets. So I've gone as far on one end of the spectrum as high BC, like match grade style bullets, but then found that they didn't really perform well in hunting scenarios because you need a hunting bullet that works really well. And then on the other hand, you have like a soft point bonded bullet that's great for hunting and knockdown power, but it doesn't fly as well as the others. So I try to find that real middle ground. Lately, I've been using like Nosler AccuBond. They seem to fly really well. Also, like have great hunting, killing power. So, it just depends. I mean, I go back and forth with bullets and try new stuff all the time and sample and shoot a lot of different things. See what shoots really well through. And every gun's different too. So I never like to suggest a bullet, but I suggest things that I think work really well. There's some great Hornady rounds that work well, some Barnes stuff, but also, your gun might not shoot the same way or bullet that another gun shoots.
Yeah, I gotcha. That's a good answer. Caden Leach says, has Remi ever taken an animal with a long bow or a recurve bow? And I remember you were just saying about this earlier in the stream, but what you like? You were saying you use recurve bows? Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. I hunt with a recurve and a long bow. I have filmed like most of the stuff that I do with my trad bows is just I don't film or anything because you got the difficulty of it and it's just another cumbersome thing. But if you go check out our Solo Hunter YouTube, there's a couple recurve hunts on there. One, I pretty much took an entire season and hunted a mule deer with my recurve self-filmed and got a really nice buck as well. So that would probably also be on the top of the list for like hunts that I think were most successful. Just because it was like something that I wanted to do and be able to self-film that was like pretty crazy, I think. Or for me personally, it was pretty difficult. And then I think there's a whitetail hunt on there as well with a recurve. So there are some videos out there.
Yeah, sweet. That's cool. Now, I just saw this in the audience before. Fixed head versus expandable broadheads. Have you got kind of any tips for when does a situation suit one over the other, or do you not think there's any difference?
I always go fixed for a couple of reasons. I mean, some people don't like it because they say that they don't fly as well. I've never had that problem with a properly tuned bow. I believe that the fixed blade broadheads fly just as good. The reason that I like fixed is there's just less to go wrong. And especially, if an animal's like hard quartering or whatever, or you hit bone or who knows. I mean, I've tried mechanicals and I've just had failures with them in the past, like a blade opening up in flight and it just flying erratic or whatever. So I just like fixed because the way it is on there is how it's flying through the air, is how it's hitting the animals, how it's exiting. Like it's all the same all the time. And there's a couple of places that I hunt regularly that it's actually not legal to use mechanical broadheads. So instead of having to switch my setup back and forth all the time, I just stay with a fixed broadhead. There are times that I will use the mechanical because you get a good cutting diameter from them. Smaller animals and like they do fly great as well. I would say the difference might be negligible in some ways, but like if I haven't had time to really get the tune right on my bow, I might just throw a mechanical on for a hunt because I know it flies similar to my field tip and it's a lot easier to mess with. But overall, fixed blade for sure.
Yep. Sweet, man. So there we go. Josh Whiting saying, since Remi is a guide in the Rocky Mountains, does he think the new DLC looks accurate to the real life Rockies?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, it looks like places that I've been, and that's the coolest part is like the scenery. I mean, you could be playing the game, and you're like, okay, are they following me around? Do they know my?
That looks like my
But I'm
spot.
pretty sure I've hunted a couple of those places. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
what do they do? Who's watching me?
Yeah.
Where's this? Where's this coming from? Just the entire, like the whole scene and everything. It looks very similar. To, ever been to the Rockies? You're going to see a lot of things that you would see here. Now, obviously, you'll probably see a lot bigger animals and a lot more of them, but that's why it's fun. That's why it's a game. You
Exactly.
got to keep on dreaming. You got to keep it up here.
Exactly.
But as far as like the scenery and everything else, yeah, it's very very comparable to honestly to places that I've been and things that I've seen.
Yeah, that's cool. Um, Josh Roush wants to know what's the best way to start financing being a worldwide hunter in the future with a young family? I,
That's
I guess how
okay.
did you go
So,
about it? There we go. It's probably the.
well, with the young family, step one, put your kids in foster care. Just when they're 18. That there will save you so much money. No, I'm just kidding. That's not
I,
realistic.
I thought
But
I thought it would be like get them to start editing video, like train them into that, and then
yeah,
yeah, get them sharpening broadheads and refletching arrows, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Get him out there on the mountain spotting for you. I think that's what my dad did. He's like, hey, if I teach this kid how to hunt and then he really likes it, then when I'm older, I have someone to carry all my stuff, and it's worked out really well for him. And we'll knock him out. I think like part of it, for me, I've done a lot of my travels and hunting and everything on a very limited budget. I've been doing this ever since I was well, I mean, since I graduated high school here, 18 years old, going to school, paying for school, and like working full time as a guide, and then just finding those hunts that I can do on my own. And really, it's like building up the skill base to do like bigger trips on your own. It saves a lot of costs. And I mean, the first time I went to New Zealand, I bought essentially a one-way ticket. I mean, I had that 3-month window before the visas expired, and then I ended up getting a extended work visa after that or whatever. But going and just like going there and having the time to figure it out, and that really is like key. Is just like doing a lot of research at home as well, like finding those places, finding those trips. With the now, like there's so much more information available to people. When I started doing what I'm doing, I mean, you had to like meet someone and find out information from them and like call another person and do like all this research that now you can pretty much do from home, 3 clicks of a button,
Yeah,
and you can learn things about going somewhere new.
yeah, no, I got that. Um, out of out of all the animals on the new map, what's Remi's favorite to hunt in real life? Well, I guess which is most challenging in that situation? I suppose it's probably the mule deer then. I guess.
Yeah, well, the mule deer, and then one thing that is just really cool. They've got the Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep and mountain goats, which like in real life, getting those tags is nearly impossible. It might be a once in a lifetime deal if you're lucky. I've guided for many Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, but never had a tag myself. Mountain goats, I got my first mountain goat tag last year. I've gone on mountain goat hunts with other people and had clients and whatever, but to get those tags, so like that's a hunt that I love to go on. It's one of my favorite hunts, but you just don't get the opportunity to do it that often. So I would say in the game, like that would probably be the thing that I would gravitate towards, just because it's such a cool hunt, and you don't like the actual opportunity to do it in real life is not very often.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. I gotcha. Um, Barnard saying, "Hey, Remy, what is the most basic memory that puts a smile on your face when it comes to hunting?" Also, did you give EW some tips on animal design for this map? Huge fan.
I mean, something that puts a smile on my face when I'm hunting a memory. Um, Man, there's a lot of them. There's just I think one that probably puts the biggest smile is just like thinking about when my wife got into hunting and one of her first hunts, or like seeing the way that she's really taken to it and like been learning the process and enjoying the process. her first whitetail. Like it was such a cool memory and cool trip. It's like she had hunted really hard and been unsuccessful, and like it just didn't work out. And like the last day, we climbed to the top of the mountain and snowing and foggy, and it's like a 3,000 foot vertical climb. We just gave it our all, and we were looking for elk. And this whitetail buck comes out in an area it's like we don't ever see whitetails, but she had a whitetail tag, and it disappeared. And we're like laying in the snow, and it's freezing. And we're waiting, and we see the does move off into the timber, and then we wait, and this buck comes out, and he just stops, and she makes a perfect shot. And it was like, and everything lined up, and it was just like that. That was really cool. It was one of my favorite like hunting memories, really.
Yeah, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's nice. Um, Jen McDonald saying, Remy, looking forward to your talk, man. Just curious about Dell and Bighorn sheep. I've heard they often migrate to the same places at the same time every year, almost down to an hour. Is there any truth to that in your experience?
Um, yes and no. So like it just depends on the area. Most of the time, I think what they might be thinking is like, so in some of the areas that I've been, the bighorn sheep, they have a summer range, and they go up to that summer range, and that's where they live throughout the summer. There's like great grass and whatever. But where the ewes hang out is often somewhere else in like what we consider winter range, and the bighorns rut in November. So yeah, it's probably down to a very close like time frame, because what they're doing is they're moving from their summer range down to where they're going to rut in November. And so the time that they move out, though, I would say is can be very weather dependent as well. So they might be in the high country, but if there's times you get a big storm or whatever, then they're going to start moving out. But it's mostly like anytime you see a pattern like that, there's a reason. It's like, okay, the rut's going to kick off, and you will see rams in a certain area in the rut. Now there might be areas that are more prone to like good timing. Maybe it's just a little also consistent weather, and they rut in a certain area, and it takes a certain amount of time to get there. But I have seen that. I wouldn't say that I've noticed it being like super precise, but I have been able to watch sheep on the summer range and then know where they're going to be during later in the season during the rut, and even been able to kind of figure out routes that they take and find them in kind of like this timbered area in between, in that October between rutting and summer range. So yeah, they can be, but I wouldn't say it's true for everywhere or every herd. It's very, because I know another herd that half the time they're in a summer range, and sometimes they drop over on one side and sometimes they drop back, and they're very nomadic. So you've got both, and it just depends where you're at.
Gotcha. Sweet. Luca Rosic was like to know, how did it feel, Remy, when Expansive Worlds contacted you and told you they wanted to work with you?
It felt really cool. I was like, at first I thought it was some kind of spam. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It was, yeah, he reached out to me, and I was like,
What is this
I
going on
don't know
about? What
about
is this going on
this.
about? Yeah.
Yeah, what's this about?
Yeah.
Some kind of scam.
Yeah, that's right.
No,
Thanks
I
for the
thought I
credit
was
card
like,
details, by the way.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it was pretty awesome. Like the thought of being you're like, hey, I'm in a video game. That's pretty cool. Like having a character there. You're in good company with like Mario and yeah, EG
Yeah,
and
that's it.
myself. Like,
There
we're
we
all
go.
in the same club now. That's pretty cool. Like a
Uh,
digital version of yourself.
yeah.
That's pretty super.
Yeah.
But I think is cool is there's so many people that reach out and like, oh, I want to go on a hunt with you, or and it's just like, even though I do guide, like we've got like repeat clients and very limited space to take people, or like have that experience with someone. But if I can do it digitally, like that's pretty cool. Like there's some form of the things that I'm saying or things that I would say in the field in those scenarios. So I think that that's cool. Like you get a little bit of that. Like this is actually probably what it would be like.
Yeah, that's
So that
awesome. Yeah, that's cool. It's funny how random things are sometimes. Eh? Like I had no idea whether you would actually answer back or anything, And I think I was asking you about what cameras you use and stuff at the time, and I was like, "Holy hell, he actually replied to me." So, by the way, is this something you're interested in? So there we go. Um, So, oh, here we go. So, Braden's saying, what was going through your head while shooting a Marco Polo, an animal that almost every serious hunter wants in their lifetime and most never will achieve?
I thought, holy cow, is this real life? That was another thing that's like, I honestly never thought that I would have that experience. It was just one thing that you put on I don't, I hate to use the term bucket list, but like a list of things that you just think would be really cool to do. And to me, I mean, I thought that's something that I'll never do. Um, I mean, for like people that don't know, like it's a big trip in a very far place that can be extremely expensive for the tags and the other things. And so that was one of those things like Socko. Um, I started working with Socko rifles, and that was one of the trips that we did for that great hunt series where we went and filmed and like I have and doing the guiding thing and being like doing this for so long, I make friends in other places that do similar things, and so a lot of these opportunities have come out of that, of like just being in the right place at the right time, and having helping someone out that helps me out somewhere else, and like that's pretty cool to be at a place where those kind of opportunities align.
Yeah, it's
So
awesome.
like being there was kind of like, whoa, is this real? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty look like pretty beautiful country too. Actually, they're like just kind of
It's
barren
almost
beauty.
in just higher elevation, you
Yeah,
know?
okay, there we go. Yeah, sweet. And then Daniel Stokes is saying, have you got any tips on how to bow hunt red deer?
Yeah. I mean, I think the best way is obviously during the roar when they're calling. I like to be aggressive with my calling. I like to roar stags. But another like you just need them close. For that, I prefer to hunt more closed in, like forest, like denser forest, because they can't really see you, and they use those audio cues. I've also found like I use a lot of hind calls. Like I actually just use my elk diaphragm calls, that kind of noise, and create the illusion of I'm a stag. I've got something that you want, and playing that calling game is a lot of fun. Um, Another great tactic that I don't necessarily know if I'm sure a lot of people use it, but like looking for wallows. It's something that we do elk hunting, and I've used that same tactic hunting red deer, and it can be super effective. It's just like finding and scouting out those wallows. It's like a wallow for a red deer is just a perfume station during the roar. And what they'll do is they urinate in it, and then they roll in that mud, and they get all stinky, and that traps that scent, and then they just feel like, now I'm going to go pick up the ladies. And so like targeting those wallows, and even just understanding like where they're going to be during the roar and the things that they're using, is a great way to bow hunt. But actually, you can, if you're just getting into bow hunting too, having the scenarios that are set up where you've got a close shot and a little bit more time, because there's just so much going on with the bow, like so much you have to think about, and it's so different. So actually, like setting up a blind or a tree stand over a wall is a great way to have like a very controlled experience where you see them come in. They're going to be at this yardage. You can wait for that perfect shot. So focusing on that is a really good tactic too if you're just getting started.
What about like arrow weight and stuff too? Like, what sort of like do you run the same sort of arrow weights for most of your hunting, or do you splice it up a little bit?
I when I get a setup, I just like to stick with it. I prefer like heavy arrows over, that way you can kind of hunt a lot of different animals. It's a slow, when you get a heavier arrow, you got a slower arrow speed, but you've also got like more energy traveling downrange. So that means more penetration. It's going to hit harder, and that's what you want for large animals like red deer, elk, moose, bison, whatever. But the same philosophy with deer is, if you've got a heavy hitting arrow, you're going to get a clean pass through. You're going to get a better blood trail. You're going to get better penetration. I think most of my arrows, like I like to keep, like I would say my minimum would be about 10 grains per inch. So it just depends on the length of your arrow and the type of your setup. I shoot a pretty like fast bow, so I can weight that arrow down. My bow's a little bit heavier poundage than I recommend, but only because I kind of started hunting like water buffalo in Australia and using a little bit heavier bow, and then realized like, hey, this is pretty good for other stuff too, and I can shoot a little bit heavier or a little bit faster. But yeah, just having like a solid arrow setup. I shoot a little bit weight forward now, and then I still shoot 100 grain broadhead, but I add a little bit in the weight in the arrow.
Yeah, I
So,
gotcha. Ah, sweet, man. That's cool. All right, so we'll take a little bit of time to take some from the audience. I saw Peter in Facebook says, "What is your longest bow kill that you remember?"
oh, I did. I did shoot a rabbit at like 100 meters.
Wow,
That
that's a
was,
good shot.
yeah, that's probably like the longest like small target
Yeah,
bow kill, I would say.
yeah, that's awesome. Do you have advice for anyone that wants to be a full-time guide? American Fitness has been looking into doing guiding, starting guiding.
Yeah, I mean, the key is like it's just like any job. You have to have a resume of experience. And you're like, well, if no one will hire me, how do I get that experience? So you have to kind of figure out, like I started guiding in an area that I knew really well. So a lot of people, at least where I'm at, are like, oh, I'd love to be a Montana elk guide. Yeah, that's the dream. But if you don't have any experience doing it, you can't. So start out guiding in somewhere that you know really well, around where you live and grew up hunting. And then, from there you can start to branch out. But I think the best way to get into it is like look for jobs in places that you know, and have that like resume of this is where I hunt, this is how I hunt, this is the kind of success I've had, and get a lot of experience just taking friends and other people out. Before I started guiding, I had taken, a lot of people on hunts where I wasn't the one hunting, but just helping them out. So just helping out friends, helping out some people, find some new hunters, help them out, and like build that where you can then say like, oh, here's the experience that I have, essentially guiding but not getting paid for it.
Yeah, I was going to say too that last part too. There must be some people that are willing to take you along as a observer just to watch how it's done and to learn from proper guides. And if you're willing to put the time and effort in, like what you were saying before, that's when doors will start opening up. Like you never know what comes from an experience, and if someone sees you're a good hard worker, then there's bound to be opportunities come from that. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Let me have a look. We actually got a couple of people in here saying that they do guide IRL. Someone said I missed it before, but just there's no other questions at the moment. Is bow hunting turkeys? Where do you aim? And is there much, like the other tips you got for bow hunting turkeys?
I think for bow hunting, I normally aim with like at the wing butts, so in the vitals. You could like I think a headshot with a shotgun. I always aim at the head, because it's just yeah, it's the best. But that's a very hard shot and needs to be a very controlled situation. So I would say, depending on the turkey's position, kind of right where the wing butts are, really study a diagram of turkey vitals, and because it's not really where you think. You think, oh, center of the body, but it's up a little bit higher, and then know that from every angle. So there's been turkeys that I've shot with my bow where they're facing away, and I think that's actually a really good shot too, where you get the spine, you get the vitals, you get everything. So there's a couple different places. Just depends on the position of the turkey, but definitely in the vital zone is where I am with the bow.
Yeah, I before I went to New Zealand did some reading, and someone was recommending aiming for the hip bones. I don't know why, but they had their logic seemed to make sense to me at the time, and I tried that in New Zealand, and it wasn't. I was not very successful. I had to put another couple of follow up arrows in it, so I won't be trying that one again. But again, as the internet, the information I got was seemed legit at the time, but like I say, it just kind of flapped away and went and bunkered down in a bush for all. But anyway, let's live and learning. What bow combination are you running, and what arrow combination are you running this season?
Yeah, so this year I've got a prime. I like the prime bows. I've got a prime black 5, and the arrow for that one I actually just switched. I'm using some day 6 arrows. They're really good. I actually just kind of switched to them and started shooting like better groups with them. So I'm like, oh yeah, sweet. I think the one that I got on my bow, I mean, that, those, it would just be specific. The exact arrow would be specific to the bow that you're using, but or sorry, like the weight and the, I think I'm shooting like 240 spine. They're about 12 or 13 grains per inch, something like
Oh
that.
yeah, that's a heavy one.
A little bit more weight, and then I've got like a weighted outsert on the front, and then my 100 grain Montech. I've been using for the broadheads, using like the G5. The I guess it's the M3s now, like the new
Yeah, those look
Montechs.
so good, man. They look so sexy.
So, I mean, I just, yeah, I got a bear this season with them, and I've shot some fallow deer and stuff last year while testing them out. And like they're some people didn't like the regular Montechs because they thought they whistled, but I've never really had a problem with the sound of the arrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a solid, like they fly really well, and they're just super solid. They can kind of go through anything. So
Yeah.
they're pretty.
It's funny. I saw someone the other day saying that arrow head manufacturers are kind of going the way the fishing industry is going, where they make them pretty and good looking because the hunter's attracted to them more so than they're effective. But yeah, I'm a sucker for broadheads. I got a huge collection. I'll never use them all. I just like the look of different types. They're a pretty cool bit of engineering. So yeah, there we
Oh
go.
yeah.
Yeah, we got some people in chat here that are shooting G5 too, so that's cool.
So,
Yeah. Well, Remi, that's us, mate. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to us, and it's been amazing, dude. And like I was saying to you before this call, like this kind of hype's only just starting, really. Like it was launched today on PC for the game and things like that, and we're about to put your video out in our channels now as well. So yeah, it's going to be good.
awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited about them. I'm excited to hear, everyone's experiences, and yeah, just looking forward to it. So I'm actually going to be. I'll throw the video up on my social as well, and I've got link to the landing page on my Instagram profile there, and I think you got it. Here's some other stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Yeah, so that's it, guys. Go and check out his the Remi Warren .thehunter.com landing page. He's got some great package deals on there, including the Silver Ridge Peaks DLC. So make sure you go and support him. So yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, honestly, since we started this, like a lot of the people, the Call of the Wild like group of people that love the game have like reached out to me, and it's been an awesome group to like get to know a little bit better. And there's a lot of people out there that are extremely excited about it, and I love hearing that. Like that makes me excited about it. So thank you guys very much for all the support. Like that really means a lot to me. I really appreciate it.
yeah. Thank you very much for your time, Remi. Catch you later, mate.
Thanks. See ya.
Catch
Bye.
you.